perfect choice of the two. The fatty short ribs will just be wonderful. Wonderful. So the 2017 I can start out with as basic notes. It was done. It was a normal year, done in the middle of August, picked before dawn, pressed within the hour after they received it, fermented in steel a couple weeks, and then moved to neutral oak for barrels for fermentation. And then it was aged only 6 months, and we added an oak stave to kind of preserve the short dolcetto life. Dolcetto has a tendency of about 4 years maximum, and so this oak stave allowed us to have a little bit longer shelf life. It produced, because it was a normal weather year, we produced a wine with 12.7% alcohol, and that's really great because you can taste all the fresh plums, and the acidity and the balance is very good. So I was happy with that. And then basically 2018 is the same thing. 2018 is the same thing, except we had a major heat wave that knocked us off our feet and took us by surprise. And so actually the fruit was harvested at the same time, but it was almost like a late harvest wine.
Right.
Almost, because the fruit was so full of sugar. It was so high. But the same process happened. The same pressing within the hour, fermented steel, etc. The oak stave, and it produced a wine of 15.8%. Because of the difference in the weather.
The bricks were much higher, right?
Pardon?
The bricks were much higher.
Much higher. Higher.
Like 5 points higher.
Yeah, they were much higher. I didn't grab the notes on what they were, and I don't recall. But yes, right. I remember they definitely were extremely higher.
15%.
Yeah.
Well, and I see that, the
we're ready to start. You don't want to steal too much thunder, Patty.
I thought we had started.
No, well,
sort of, right?
We just went live, so
I didn't know.
People
cool.
on Facebook watching us.
Okay.
Good.
So I'll just kick it off. My name is Sheila Donahue. I'm so glad that you joined us on this Sunday. It's evening. I'm in New York. I'm happy to be rejoined with my family, my sister and brother-in-law. But that's not the only reason why it's special. It's special because joining with me today are people that are dear to me in the wine and food industry. So we have Patty Mitchell, who, with her daughter, can I call you Jackie?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So along with Jackie Mitchell, Patty's daughter, they have a winery in Ojai, California, and Patty is in her vineyard, and Jackie's a chef as well, and she's actually at the trattoria in Piedmont, where she works. It's really late for her, so thank you so much, Jackie, for.
Yeah.
It's 11 o'clock, right?
At night.
11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And we
Fall
have
asleep here. Just everybody yell really loud.
Sorry.
We missed you, Jeff.
And then we have Jeff Bonafede of Uncorked in Hermosa Beach, who's actually in Palm Springs, if I'm not mistaken. Right, Jeff?
Yes.
Yeah. And last but not least, we have Suzanne Randolph with us. She's CEO and founder of the Alix Experience. And she's our moderator today. So
can you hear me? Can you hear me? Oh,
yes.
good. Okay. Okay. I'm always having problems being heard. Right.
And
okay.
I just wanted to say before I turn it over to Suzanne that we want this to be interactive. If you have any questions, also on Facebook, we have some people My niece is monitoring the Facebook page.
I love it. I love it.
So any questions that you have, you can put it in the chat. So I'll turn it over to you. Oh, last but not least, I should put a little plug in for my business. Patty's Wines are small production wines, and we sell them online at verovinogusto.com. We also sell them to wine stores like Jeff's.
We got him.
Love it. Love it.
Thank you. Thank
Okay,
you.
done with the commercial.
Okay. So I thought we were live when I gave that last briefing. I apologize for having to repeat it. So we're going to start with the 2017. It was a normal year
Oh,
harvest.
wait,
wait.
Patty, we just have to have Suzanne. Suzanne's the moderator.
Oh,
So,
I
yeah.
thought you told me to go. Okay.
Yeah.
okay, so we'll make it work. It'll be wonderful. Anyway, it's great to be with everyone. Sheila and I have been talking about putting events together for a while, and this is our first event, and we hope to do other things together. I've created a business for women who travel internationally for business, and we do lots of wonderful trips and experiences in different cities around the country, around the world. And I just did a trip to France for the Leonardo da Vinci show, and we did it just before the virus hit, and everyone said, well, where are we going to go next? I said, Italy. And then, of course, we now can't go anywhere. So this is a great opportunity to pretend that we're in Italy and being together and doing what we love to do in the Elix experience, which is to come together around culture and cuisine. So my first question, this is such a wonderful thing, mothers and daughters working together. I'd love to hear a little bit about how this whole passion was shared and evolved.
Yes.
Well, I think I know we've been traveling here for many years, and when I took an interest in starting to cook and all of that, it was just kind of natural that this was where we'd gravitate. My mom had, long time friends here, and so it all kind of flowed naturally, food into wine, into vineyards. Mom can tell later the story that the restaurant where I work now, it's their fault we're going dolcetto.
Oh, really? Oh, I love it. I love it.
Yeah. And so it all just kind of built off of each other, I think.
Right. So, Patty, was this a dream deferred to do your vineyard, or was it something that you've always been doing?
No, we had just decided to do it for, just more of a hobby, more of a tax write-off, and putting the property to purpose. And the soils came out perfect for grape when we did the soils analysis with the local fruit growers, and the water, the soils, everything was perfect. The altitude, the south-facing slope, the shale. I mean, it just pointed to grapes. And I was spending a lot of time in Piemonte. I'd been going for 38 years. And so I'd been spending a lot of time there. So I decided, I didn't know what to plant. And I've always believed strongly that you plant what you love.
Right.
And you're going to drink it.
Exactly.
And so I tasted, I love Barolo with certain foods, and I love a Barbaresco. Barbera is about third on my list, or fourth. And but I like a good Barbaresco. It's my favorite because it's got that lighter color and a little more fruit than Barolo. Barolo is
right.
is very heavy like your Berto. But anyway, so I started going and looking into dolcetto and tasting everywhere. Or no, before I did that, I was tasting Barbaresco and Barolo Nebbiolos everywhere. And everyone had one thing in common, all the growers. And they had this little patch. And we'd say, well, what's this little patch? Well, this little patch is dolcetto. You make Barolo, you drink dolcetto.
I love
and
it.
I said, excuse me? What? And they said, this is what we drink. This is everyday table. This is well, then I discussed it with the owner of the restaurant, who I adore, Ilario. And, it's just such a drinkable wine, and it's light, it's bodied, and it can go with everything. So you pair it with everything. So that's why it's a house wine in a lot of restaurants in Italy. You'll find that as the house wine because it can just go with everything. So that's what happened. So I came home, bench grafted it, took 18 months out of California rootstock, and then planted it. And that was about 10 years ago. And then 7 years later, we actually harvest and bottled the first wine. So this will be our fourth coming, and it's doing quite well. So that that's kind of the story of what happened. My daughter informed me the other day that, do you know I'm a chef, Mom? And I said, no, not really, because she was like pre-med. And I said, no, not really. And she said, because she said you were an exercise maniac and you spent 4 hours a day exercising. And if I didn't cook for the family, no one ate.
Oh, I love it.
And I said, oh, so thank you, Jack. Thank you for that one. But she's an incredible chef, and we picked a culinary school for her in Asti Spumante up on top of a castle, 900 years old, and it was a great culinary school. So then I had friends from 40 years ago that took us to Trattoria Risorgimento, where she's at, and so we and they hired her, and it's been all a win-win story since.
So we should turn to Jackie.
So that's
got to cook for us, right? And
it would be time.
Get started.
Technical question.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, there's the restaurant.
Oh, I love it.
I don't know if anyone has any questions, you can ask me. But so
Jackie, you should take over now and tell us what we're going to be virtually tasting.
Yeah, that'd be great. That way I'll kind of just prep and cook in the...
I'm going to interrupt you one moment. I apologize. Yep. I'm jumping off the call to leave the vineyard and go up to the deck. So I'll be back. See you guys.
All right.
See you soon. So I'll kind of be cooking in the background, so I'll give you guys a quick wrap up of what we're going to be cooking here. So the first dish is a cold appetizer called bagnetto verde with tuma cheese. So bagnetto verde is a really typical sauce of the area. It's one of those kind of things that everyone has their own recipe. Every grandmother has their own recipe. Its base is parsley. And then in it, we're going to be putting hard-boiled eggs, anchovies, cucumbers, pickles, pickled vegetables, and capers.
Oh.
And then we're going to be just chopping all of that together, mixing that all up in a food processor, and then let that sit. And we'll serve it with preferably as fresh as possible, little aged. And then the second dish we'll be making is going to be our famous tagliarine al ragù. So tagliarine are thin noodles cut by hand, and I'll be making that here. And then the ragu sauce is made with sausage, and then a mirepoix or sofrito of carrots, celery, and onion, and a little bit of tomato in order to bring the whole thing together. So I'll get working on all of that. In the meantime, while you guys...
I think it's time to taste. Right?
I think it's time to taste too, right?
Wine. So I'll turn it over to you guys and start cooking here in the background. So
wonderful. Thank you.
Yep.
So we're going to move to Jeff now to take us through some of the wines.
Yes, me? Yes.
Right. You, right.
We are doing the, Sheila, are you doing it? Or am I doing it? We're doing the
Yeah, you do it.
13. We're selling it at, what do you put on your side? I have the same price. It's like 24.
25.
25, yeah, $24.99 I have it at Uncorked. Very fair price for a classic. This dolcetto to me is very classic style. It's a little warm, more like from Dogliani. a little further south, but it's a beautiful wine, really perfectly medium body and very pleasurable all around tasting. You know, it'll go with a lot of things. Hence the reason it is a favorite table wine, especially like when you, I love that story that Patty said, what's this little thing down here in the vineyard? Oh, that's our Dolcetto. You know, we make the Barolo, but we drink the Dolcetto. So, and I've always enjoyed Dolcetto as a red table wine. It's very pleasurable. So this is a very classic mimic style of, to me, of what I've sold in the shop of the many, over the 9 years of my existence in the shop and previous to that, or just a lot of Dolcettos have a little more of a smoky bite to them, but this is a very even medium-bodied Dolcetto.
Patty was saying that that it's usually good for about 4 years, so it really is an easy drinking wine that you just buy and drink.
And they have the alcohol at 12.5%, which is a classically lower alcohol, which you get from, you know, a little bit shorter or sometimes colder production season when it comes to the entire terroir picture. So this is a great effort for Dolcetto, especially from California. Things seem to go really well for Italian grapes in California. There's a good handful of producers right there in Central California, all the way through Paso. I was just talking to one of my friends here, a housemate for the weekend, a good friend of mine, and it was talking about Giornata, and then we were talking about, you know, Mosby and some other places that they commit to Italian grape varietals. But this is a beautiful, beautiful effort. The 2017 Pacific View.
This is their first vintage too.
Yeah, great effort. I mean,
so 2013 was a big year for Jackie and for Patty. Jackie was starting to work in 2013, and this first wine was being harvested, which is great.
Well,
Yeah.
no, the wine is 2017.
It was harvested. I think she started growing the grapes in 2013. Did she say?
She said it took 7 years, so I guess 2010.
Yeah, we started it. We lost a couple harvests in the middle due to, let's say, a learning curve of deer.
Deer, did you say?
Deer, yeah.
Yeah.
Patty, I was going to ask you on the root that you grafted to
1103 was the rootstock, if you know.
1103 AXR rootstock?
It's 1103P.
P, okay, got it.
What
Was
does that
the
mean?
rootstock.
What does that mean for all of us who don't
And
know?
I think they did that, you know, we chose that particular rootstock for, if I'm not mistaken, Jeff, but it was for the resistance to disease.
Yeah, with a P on it's a phylloxera-resistant rootstock. That's the reason I was asking that, Suzanne, was UC Davis developed a rootstock that was phylloxera, which is a louse, to ruin, you know, someone's entire business, as you might know. I don't know if everybody else knows, but I know Nancy knows. But I was asking that in particular because all the rootstocks you can get now have that resistance to
that disease
infestation, as it were.
Interesting.
Right.
But the soil is a big thing there too, because there's a lot of as you go up the coastline, there's a lot of metamorphic shale in soil, especially up in the slightly bench elevations from about 1,500 feet on up. Sometimes they can dip a little lower, but that's all from, you know, tectonic and volcanic uprooting from, you know, a long time ago. But
I'm at 3,000 or 900 meters, and it's solid shale. I mean, solid shale.
Yeah.
One layer.
You get a great opportunity, a great growing opportunity there, which I love that you're doing that. So
well, I think so, because it has a, you know, we get that, like right now I have this huge cool ocean influence, which is really nice because the Dolcettos are cool. Obviously, it's you know, it's a climate in Italy that's cooler, and so it works quite well. I think it's been good.
But
is
there's
the
a
land
similar-
similar to Piemonte? Is it really similar land and
Yes.
similar elevation?
Oh yes, in Piedmont, there's an area called Seven Brothers, and I mean, it's solid shale.
Yeah.
I could not believe
really
the
is similar.
similarity in my mountain. And then, you know, it turns out that the growers gave me advice too, that how similar my soil, altitude, weather was to them, but their bottom line was this: go back to California, lay on the beach, and let us make the wine.
Yeah,
That sounds like a typical Italian response.
Doesn't it? I mean, and I bring a couple bottles in my suitcase, and they look at me like, "You want me to taste what?" A California Del Toro, you know?
What was that famous film in which it was blind tasting and the California wine won against all the French
Yes,
wines,
yes,
you know? But,
yes,
Yeah, Judgment in Paris, yeah.
yeah.
But Patty, what are your challenges being a owner of a vineyard that's obviously doing very well and getting great ratings on the wine that you do produce?
Well, I just got all my state and federal licensing. Jacqueline and I in Italy are partners. And so that all came through. That was a year process. And so I could do a commercial, you know, winery and tasting room and do all that if I want to open it to the public. I'm still kind of opposed to the public. So I'm deliberating what my next steps will be now that the licensing just came in about 2 weeks ago. So I can make it on my own property now.
Well, that's fabulous. That's wonderful.
But I don't, you know, I can't tell you at the moment exactly I don't have a 5-year pro forma for my winery yet.
So Suzanne, I just want everybody, it's very important to note that her growing conditions are far more favorable here than they can be in Italy, but she has the same soil structure. So it's one of the great things about California. And when it, you know, it makes sense. You go lay on the beach, let us make the wine. Well, they're jealous, and
Right.
they have every right to be, because California is one of the greatest diverse ecosystems to grow grapes all up and down the coast, even the West Coast. But California, in particular, because of the soil structure, the different opportunities in soil structure you have with making wine, and that's what I hear from, you know, from hallowed producers like, you know, Adam Tolmach and
Right.
you know, those
No.
people who started in the early 70s doing stuff.
Right,
I mean, it's really important to note that, especially with an Italian varietal, because they do so well in California, and I don't think enough people know about it or pay attention and give credence to the producers that do things, especially. And I love that you committed to doing something like this project, Patty. I mean,
Thank you. I wanted to specialize in Italian varietals because I've drank a lot of Italian varietals. A lot more than
38
French.
years, that's good.
38 years, long time. So that was fun and is fun. And so, and I appreciate your expertise and your knowledge on the growing in California, Jeff. That's wonderful. I'd love to chat with you further sometime.
You should.
I would be honored. I'll come.
It's just
One way or
knowledge,
the
you
other.
know? I'm a sap for the knowledge. I don't have so much expertise, but I talk to enough people, you know. I have a very revered staff member, and I love her to death, Nancy, right here on with us as well.
Wow.
She's in, you know, she's done the certifications, you know, for sommelier and wine specialist. I've done nothing, but I love her, and I'm very fortunate to have her and
Right.
a handful of other people who work for Uncorked, and really fortunate to have them. And anyways, so Nancy's a great sounding board and a great colleague to share with.
Well, thank you. And I want to personally take this opportunity to thank you for featuring both of my wines in your store. And taking a risk with a small producer, and liking my wines. I was quite honored when I heard that you liked them. So that was
Sheila's
great.
fault.
It's Sheila's fault. Well, and it is Sheila's fault. And I wanted to say that about Italian varietals, if I may, is I remember when I started about 10 years ago, Italian wines were so out. No, but you know, nobody wanted to talk Italian wines any longer. I think 20 years ago, they were more in, and then they went and then they went out, and now I think they're coming back in with help of wonderful people like Sheila, who's featuring Italian wines and low and small producers. And I think what you're doing, Sheila, is fabulous.
Thank you.
And thank you for including my California Italian in your business. Thank
And
you.
I'll tell you, Patty, I'm lucky to have met Sheila. She found me. You know, I didn't find her. I feel a great fortune to,
Oh,
and it was really through Nancy, right?
Yeah.
Pretty
yeah,
much.
First met Nancy.
Yeah. So, and
Your
she has a
sister?
group. No, she has a group
oh,
called
assistant,
Women with
assistant.
Wine
Women
Sense.
with Wine
Okay,
Sense.
assistant.
Great group. You know, I'm lucky, like I said, it's just a very fortunate situation. So I've,
Well, I think when things are meant to be, they fall into place.
exactly.
You know, and so I'm glad you met her too.
So Patty, are you thinking about starting or exploring other varietals on your property, on your vineyard?
Yes, I'd want to do a Nebbiolo because I love a Nebbiolo, but I wanted to try the Dolcetto first because Nebbiolo has a tendency to be much pickier, and I wanted to make sure I was correct in my analyzation of my weather and terroir, and I was, and the Dolcetto has proved that. So I'd like to do a Nebbiolo, and then I'm looking at a couple other, maybe go a little far central to south and see how that would do. And to get a Piemonte, just maybe, I've got a list of some different varietals, and then I'd like to do a white. I was thinking of doing an Arnase.
Arnase, yeah.
That's what I've been wanting to do next is the Arnase. So
It's a Piedmont wine as well?
Arnase is, yes. It's a white. It's a white wine, and it's very drinkable. I don't know about you, Jeff. I like Arnase very much. I'm not an oakish girl as far as like a oak Chardonnay. It's not my favorite, and so the
You are preaching to the choir, my dear.
oh, we have things in common then.
I'll take it a step further.
Say.
We have about 645 or 6 people in our monthly wine club, and in our main, our white for this past month was an Arnase from
No
Cailles.
way.
Yeah, that means I did 30 cases of Arnase and distributed it out to my wine club members. So I'm a huge fan of
Wow.
really good Italian wine down people's throats. Don't worry about it.
Oh, wow. It is an honor to know you.
And Callega's a winery. I mean, they're a big winery, but they've been around for since the 1400s. I don't know. It's just mind-boggling, you know. I mean, Jackie knows, and you know from going there for 38 years. But some of these wineries, how long they've been around, and how many generations, you know.
Generation. I mean, Cavalotto's 5 generations.
Yeah, it's crazy, you know.
I mean, I think they're
400 years, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to just take a minute to say hello. Hello,
We have.
Jackie. Hello, Jackie.
Oh, sorry.
I don't belong in your group here. I'm not a wine guy, but I'm
Oh,
a friend.
Mr. Singer and Bev. Hello.
Yeah, just saying hello. We were invited to this meeting.
Jackie.
We have nothing to do with wine whatsoever except drink it. And
That's what needs to happen, right?
and it's so great to see you guys, and just wanted to say hello.
Thank you for saying hello, and it's great to see you and Bev. And I know Jackie is happy too.
Yeah, hi,
I
Jackie.
haven't seen Jackie for so long. Hi, honey.
Hey,
This is great.
I know you
There
so
she
well.
is. Yeah, well, Mr. Singer, how do I want to say, taught my children to play polo, and we bought our first polo horses and thoroughbreds. We go way back. So we're longtime friends of Bev and Ron's, and it's an honor that you joined our call. Thank you, guys.
Well, thank you. We're just here to
Thanks for
say hello
inviting
and see y'all. Have a
Great.
good meeting, and we'll see you soon.
Okay, all right, thank you very much.
So should we
Thank you.
check in with Jackie and see how she's doing?
Yes, I would be.
Hey, Jackie. She looks frozen.
Is that her sleeping in the corner? No.
Well, I just wanted to involve my sister, Carrie Ann and Steve. So they're like my guinea pigs. So
I have a question.
Right?
And you're all, Jeff is also one of my guinea pigs too.
I have a question, and I need to interrupt because I'm not drinking. And I think I missed when you guys started drinking when I came from the vineyard up to the house.
You did.
So Jeff, did you guys pour something?
I
Yes,
did.
we're tasting
I
the
started.
2017.
So the
Okay.
2017 to me, Patty, you know, it's very classic Dolcetto. It's very beautiful, medium bodied, nice round feeling to it, like Dolcetto, but it doesn't have like a more smoky bite. Some of the northern Dolcettos to me can be a little bitey, a little tannic, but it reminds me of one from like Dogliani, which gets a little warmer hit from the south facing in Dogliani, you know.
Yes.
So it reminds me more of Dogliani, which is my favorite area for Dolcetto.
And mine too. I love Giuliano and Panettone. If, by the way, they make the best damn panettone in the. But I think and that's where I finally made my final decision was in Giuliani to pick the Dolcetto. So I agree with you, and I think I like my 2017. Now I changed graphic artist, and my 2018 has a much more beautiful label of my view on my property. But
Yes.
the first graphic artist did a terrible job. But the point is that the wine, I like the 12.7 better because I do think it replicates a truer Italian Dolcetto.
It's a beautiful mimic of what you could expect. And you heard me go through about how great it is to be able to grow in California, and you can pick where you want to grow, what you want to grow, because it can mimic, you know, so many different places, and people are understandably, you know, like experts, you know, hallowed people, or they get jealous, and they end up coming here to make wine a lot of times, even though they have wine, they make wine in Burgundy, or they make it in Piemonte, or they make it in Tuscan, you know, so.
Right.
But it's a beautiful, like, it's what to be expected for Dolcetto. I
How do you guys like it?
2018, and it's very different and powerful,
like
but it's also graceful. So whenever, Suzanne, whenever we're ready to try the next wine, I'll have some more thought on that.
Well, I think have we lost Jackie? I think
No.
No, she's right there.
Here, okay.
She's right there.
Yeah.
So
No,
Jackie,
Ella,
you started telling about the recipes when I left. You're doing a cheese beignet, I heard.
Bagnette verde, tallarin con ragù.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Can we see anything?
Yeah, I finished up the sauce. It's resting. So I put it in the fridge to rest. It's best if you let it sit for a couple hours.
Oh,
Kind of all the flavors.
really smooth, huh?
Yeah. And then in the meantime, I've started I can get a hold of the pan here. I've started my pork ragu. You guys can see it. I just deglazed with some red wine, Dolcetto. And I'm about to put in some tomato and start mixing the pasta itself. So, yeah, that's me. I'm working away. I think I should be right on track. So,
Do you
How do you spell?
Oh, that's yummy.
How do you spell the first dish? You said
bagnette.
B-A-G-N-E-T.
Bagnet.
Yes. Yep, bagnetto, but the Piemontese version is bagnette without the vowel, the dialect. And then that'll be with toma. I'll plate that at the end once it has a chance to rest. So, and then
what is that? What is toma?
toma is a type of fresh cheese local to the area. Here we are. So here I have a goat's one, a goat toma, Robiola di Roccoverano is what I'll be using eventually. So it's a fresh, just a nice, fresh, soft cheese.
So you must have fun working with with sourcing the food, and you have your favorite places where you get your dairy and where your favorite places where you get it must be wonderful working with farmers and artisans there.
Yeah, it's, you know, we're small enough that we don't have a set menu. The menu changes day to day.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of depends what Ilario has in his garden or what his buddies pull out of their orchards. And like this morning I had to go we had a really busy day here at the restaurant, and we ended up using all the parsley we had. And so we were calling frantically everybody in Trezo, who has parsley? Who has parsley? No one had, there was not a sprig of parsley in all of Trezo, apparently. So I had to go to the supermarket to buy the parsley.
That's very funny. That's very, very funny.
And cut it already. So
Well, the restaurant sounds wonderful. It looks wonderful. The TripAdvisor reviews are fabulous. And you're saying it's a family-owned restaurant, you were saying.
yes, actually today was the 30th anniversary of their opening.
Wow.
So the family opened it 30 years ago, and it's now primarily run by the three siblings, Eliza, Joelle, and Cinzia. And Eliza kind of watches over the kitchen here. Cinzia does the dining room, and Joelle helps out here in the kitchen, meal plan, that kind of stuff, as well as looking at the wine list. And he does all of our cooking classes.
Oh, fabulous.
Yeah, actually, these dishes here, they're kind of the typical Piemontese dishes that we like to feature in our cooking classes that we do here. So, which are always so much fun to get to meet new people that come in the kitchen and everything.
Well,
So,
it's really interesting. So with Alix, we're always looking for new adventures. And when we can start to travel again, this sounds like the perfect adventure. And to come and do a cooking class with you and come to some of the sources where you actually buy things, I'm sure it would be a fabulous experience for a small group of women.
it is. It's fun. We have Alba has some great markets here. They're really, really just diverse. Lots of local people. I always love to go to practice my dialect.
How's your Italian? Perfect.
It is good. My Italian, well, it's getting there. It's getting there. I still have problems today. We had a misunderstanding with one of the dishes during service. And I said, I looked at the young girl that's the server, and I said, don't you know to not trust me with my prepositions by now?
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
I'm teaching her grammar.
You're
Yeah.
teaching grammar?
Trust me, I'm teaching Jackie grammar because she learned, to just speak. And I've learned from textbooks, because if I'm there 90 days, when I come home, I'm home 90 days, and then I lose my Italian because I have no one to speak with, and then I go back, and so I go back and forth. So I know a lot more grammar, but Jackie can spit it out a mile a minute.
But whose accent is better?
Hers. Hers. She's.
I spoke no Italian when I moved here. Like I had grazie, buongiorno. That was about it. And
Due
so,
acqua, 2 waters.
and so, I learned everything thanks to the restaurant here. They taught me.
It's the best way to learn, I think.
I just learned on my feet. So there's many things I have no clue why or what. I just know that's how it sounds. And so I have it's a very interesting education in Italian. And unfortunately it leads to many mishaps, because unfortunately I did learn it in a kitchen.
Oh, right. Oh, shorthand, right?
Yeah, every once in a while. And then the family speaks a lot of the local dialect. And so a lot of times I don't know, for example, I know people that don't speak any Piemontese, the local dialect. And so I'll be talking and I'll say something and they'll go, what does that mean? Well, è una patella, and no one understands me. And it just means to hit something, but it's Piemontese, it's not Italian. And I don't know the word in Italian. And
But you know the gesture, which is part of it too, right? With your hands, right? Right, which is always part of it.
And so, yeah, it's.
So are you making the pasta dough now?
Yeah, I'm just working on kneading the pasta. I'm about to put it on the table here. Oh, I left the flour.
At almost midnight, her time.
Yeah.
Oh, I know, it's incredible. We really appreciate your taking the time to do this. This is just wonderful. I have to tell you, I finally ordered 00 flour, and I'm determined to make pasta by hand.
Well, it's difficult, but I just used 1 egg here, so I'm just making, it's just a little bit here for you guys tonight.
And we'll
Do
get
you,
some
do you use
recipes at
the
end.
00 flour, Jackie?
Depends on the kind of pasta we make. Different pastas will have different ratios and different quantities. Most of our pasta is kind of a mix between semola and Manitoba. So Manitoba is a type of, it's a different type of white flour. So it has a little bit more gluten content than 00 all-purpose.
Great.
And then semola has, I think, it's a little bit more of a,
Like corn, right?
It's more cornmeal, isn't it?
Cornmeal?
Corn.
it's wheat, but it has a little bit thicker. It's not quite as fine. If you look at it, you can see flour looks like a powder, where semola looks a little bit more. You can see kind of the grains in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little more grainy, you can tell.
Even the bread is different. Yeah.
Polenta and white flour. So
So you're
I'm
going-
enjoying the 2017, Jeff. Good choice to go first.
So what are we tasting in 2018?
Yeah, the 18's super powerful,
Do
obviously
it now?
alcohol, number one, but you know, it is what it is. I mean, I love that, you know, maybe some years, I mean, some people fall into that trap of, I've got to make the same wine every year.
Right.
I pray that you never do that, Patty.
Thank you.
Well, is it
And,
possible to make the same one every
Because
year?
it's important, you know.
Is it
You know,
possible?
the-
to?
Well, go ahead. Excuse me.
No, is it
I'm not-
possible because of the the changes in weather? Is it possible, really?
What is it possible to do? What, Suzanne?
Make this, when you say make the same wine every year.
Well, if you want to make the same wine every year, you have to do something like probably not a very, you have to have, I mean, I don't want to I don't want to say anything wrong about people who produce wine, but there are large production wineries, and we know some of them who they are, and there's some that have given Italy a bad name, Stella. But anyways, they
Right.
do things like add things, you know, they'll add water, they'll add sugar, they'll add tartaric acid, they'll do
Right.
all these different things. I mean, your large French producers of champagne do this. And when people say, oh, I want a bottle of Vouv or something, I'm digressing, I'll come back. But, you know, the reason why those champagnes cost that much money every single year is because of the manipulation and what the kind of making the deal with the devil, as it were, you know? So anyways, if you're doing things probably the best you should, the way people have done it for decades and centuries and whatnot, family wineries, and I mean, to me, doing it right, you need to be okay with, you know, a cold weather year and
yes,
year, you know? So that's what happens.
This is what I tried to replicate, Jeff, what you're saying. I wanted a good Italian wine. When I first got into this 10 years ago, what was the most popular thing? A 16.8% Zinfandel, you know, or a cab, you know, 16.8%. Are you kidding me? I remember buying wines from my friends that were making 18% wines.
Oh yeah.
You know, 16 to 18% wines. Well, who wants to get drunk over your meal? But that's what became popular. And then it was because of my traveling experience and tasting in Piemonte that I realized, well, if Californians like 16 to 18% wines, go for it, dude. But you're losing all the fruit. You're losing all the everything. And so I chose to do my best to not do that.
I mean, you're losing out on the pleasure of learning about great wines, you know, and thank God, you know, there are people who get to do that. And you started doing that, you know, 3 decades ago, which is great because it was right in the wheelhouse of the big, chewy, coming in the late 80s, early 90s from Napa and everywhere. And people were trying to mimic those. And you got Paso. I mean, because of the hot weather, you know, and they're probably picking at 30 bricks or something. Who knows?
I would think, yeah.
You know, you get stuck in that mold, and you know, wine is a condiment. it's meant to go with food. Always, always, always. We all of us at our shop even tell people that, you know, and the coming back to balance is happening in California with producers, but it has to start with someone like you. It starts with producers that have been doing it since 1973, like Adam Tolma, or, you know, at Ojai Vineyard, right?
I know Adam. Yeah. He's a great guy.
An amazing, amazing winemaker, you know.
Absolutely. My
There are wines that
winemaker,
he produces that can bring tears to your eyes. They're so good.
Really?
my new winemaker made wine. That's where he got his start making Adam's wines. He's great. I
Pretty
can't
much-
wait to tell you about what's going to happen with 2019. It's
Anybody
really
who
cool.
tells me that, they have me at hello, pretty much.
It's exciting. It's cold storage and Italian wild yeast strain, and I mean, there's some exciting things happening for 2019, and I'm excited. So anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And what you're saying is so important, and these are the things that people don't get to know about. So there are people like myself and like Nancy, you know, and Sheila who get to go out and tell people these kind of things, you know, because you only can touch so many people, Patty, you know, so those are the kind of important things that you can learn from these kind of little events and these little gatherings that we get to have. Almost better not to be in person and do it like this too, because Sheila's recording this and she's live on Facebook, so people are getting touched by this, and that's so important to just these little tidbits are, if people can get it, you know, it's so important. And
Suzanne, I wanted to tell you, I really respect what you're doing for your tourism business, and I haven't had a chance. It was my first chance to talk with you, but I respect it greatly because it's so important that we get a chance to get out there. And for example, you just dined at all the restaurants in Paris that were female owned.
Exactly.
Female owned, but
Female chefs. And
yeah,
and this is what, you know, this is what people
wonderful.
love. It's what I love putting together. And so to do it in California, to do it in Italy is just really kind of a dream. Because
well, what I'd like to do is join forces with you and be your pilot.
that would be fabulous. I would love it.
So I've been wanting to fly in Italy. I've been a licensed pilot for many years. So there we go. Here's the show.
and I love airplanes too. So.
Pasta.
Yep, airplanes too.
Yeah, we got to meet in person for sure, Patty. What was that?
Jackie's ready to roll.
I was just saying, I've got
35 years, 36 years I've been licensed.
Wow.
we don't keep the pasta roller in the kitchen. We keep it in a separate pasta room so all the gluten stays contained. So I have to go roll it out because it's too late for me to try to roll this out by hand.
Okay. We
So
appreciate
you're going to
that.
use a roller, an electric roller.
So
Yeah.
I'm going to go real quick and make the pasta sheets out of this. So I'll be right back, guys.
So Patty, have you traveled a lot for business? Have you traveled a lot?
Pleasure and business for many.
Were you a commercial pilot?
No, I'm a private pilot. My husband is an American Airlines 787 captain.
Whoa.
And so I traveled, 35 years. When
So he's
Jacqueline
super
was in
senior.
first grade, he's super senior in LA. He's under in the top 100 out of 20,000.
Wow.
But we, it unfortunately after 35 years it didn't last a year ago, and so he's doing his thing, but I'm still I have my life and I'm flying. I have my businesses. I got him to sign off on my businesses, and that's what I wanted. So I own my wine candy club and our company, and I own my vineyard, and so everything's good. But I kind of feel like I have to share that happened in the last year. So it's okay. I mean, life, the future's bright. And just because one can't see the future doesn't mean it's not bright.
That's true. Very true. Things change.
So,
And the way we are now,
yes, they
everyone's
do.
taking a day at a time, quite honestly. This is a time where
That's
we're all
all we're blessed with.
and do a day at a time. We have to, otherwise it's too overwhelming.
Absolutely. And so, I'm flying. I had a multi-engine, Jeff. I used to fly a 342A
Wow.
Cessna, and then, you know, we raised children, and he was the pilot. So I'm back flying, and I'm happy, and everything's good. And so
The wine candy, did is that, what is that? That's the,
Wine candy, yeah.
okay, the wine candy company Jacqueline and I are also partners in. Jacqueline developed the recipe, and we make it with 100% wine. No water, no anything. And so when the candy has this, it's a half pectin and half gelatin base. You can go all pectin if you want. We're kind of deliberating between our recipes. And so I wanted it to, my main thing was it must have a bouquet and a finish, the bite of candy, and it must not stick in your teeth as an adult. And so I found a fabulous food scientist in Chicago, and he's been making my samples for about 5 years. And then about a year ago, he asked to be an equity partner and to offer him a win-win situation. I did, and we're partners now with an incredible food scientist. He did the Mars, Snickers, Milky Way, first granola bar, first fruit roll-up. Bob's done everything. And
okay,
so
can we sell it?
Can you sell it? Yes, we're wrapping up some things this week, actually, because we've been working with the $1 billion vineyard up in Sonoma and for over a year, and they've been dragging their feet, and I told Bob, that's it, let's move on. There's other ones. I'll go to get, you know. And so he moved on, and we have a new person interested that's from South Africa, a couple generational vintner out of South Africa. And so we're kind of figuring out now what direction we're going to go, but it's really an excellent candy. And you can actually do, Jacqueline and I used to do blind tastings, honest, and we'd lay out 6 or 7 bites of the different candies that we made with different wines, and you could literally pick out a Cabernet from a Zinfandel in the candy.
Everyone's got the pasta ready.
Yeah. And then my food scientist perfected, you know, he said to Jacqueline as a compliment, you know, Jacqueline, your recipe is incredible. I don't know how much more I can improve, but he has, because he's a commercial confectionery maker. So that's what's happening with the wine candy company. And then I'm going to do a wine candy club, and I've got all this marketing and all that. And so
send us a link, keep us posted, all of us.
Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it.
Please do. Very exciting.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you. Thank you, Suzanne.
So the 2018 yet? Should I be pouring that one?
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
We poured that before.
So,
Okay.
the one thing about the 2018, aside from it being very powerful, I don't think it's so overwhelming in your mouth. I think also if you let it breathe a little bit, kind of blows off a good amount of that alcohol. So it's still a beautiful wine, you know? And this is not to like, there's no criticism on it. It's beautiful tasting wine, very lush, you know, obviously since it's bigger, there's more extraction from the alcohol and whatnot being warmer, but nice job.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that compliment. And Sheila taught me something that I have, I appreciate, and that like typically a dolcetto is not, you don't have to let it breathe. You know, it's a drinkable, quick wine.
Right away,
you don't have to let it breathe. But Sheila pointed out, doing many tastings at my house, that this wine actually does very well if you let it breathe 30 minutes. 40 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes. And so I said, really? I mean, typically I've never let a dolcetto breathe. And she said, yes. And Sheila, you can explain why that's a fact. But I opened these before I went down to the vineyard. So they could breathe an hour while I was down at the vineyard and getting everything started and coming back. So you are absolutely correct in everything you say.
You taste the 2017. Try the 2018, let it breathe, and then retaste the 2017. Very similar, you know. After.
Wow, interesting. Just that time of letting it breathe.
So it's just the oxidation that does it?
Yeah, I think so.
Wow. That's interesting.
What do you think, Sheila?
Sorry, the, the clock was ringing. What was the question?
Are you not paying attention?
No, the clock.
The question is, you told me the clock was ringing. I heard you. You told me that my dolcetto, which isn't typical of an Italian dolcetto, benefited from
Breathing.
breathing. Thank you.
Right.
And so I wanted you to explain technically why you thought that, and it does work. And then Jeff had said the same thing, so I went, oh, you and Sheila are saying the same
Yeah, I
thing.
think it has to do with the complexity of the wine. I was just thinking, Jeff, about how the previous talk that we had together was with another Ventura County producer, Claude Des Amis.
Who also work with Adam.
What's that?
Also friends with Adam Tolma.
Yeah. And so they're lower, let's say more inland and lower elevation compared to Patty. So Patty's up 3,000 feet.
Amazing.
And if you see some of the pictures that that we posted, it's called Pacific View for a reason, so she's getting a lot of the, a lot of the thermal impacts that have to do with being near the sea. And the more stress that you give the vine, the better it is. The more structure it has. And so I think it's a great terroir for making wine. I mean, right?
And it's rainwater. We have it rainwater sustained. So we do make it, we don't keep it irrigated on a weekly basis. I keep it maybe once a month. I'll irrigate it with rainwater, not our well water.
You're partially dry farmed, yeah.
Yeah, partially dry farm, but I subsidize it with pure rainwater. I have 12 3,000 gallon tanks all trenched underground of
Love it.
rainwater.
Yeah, fabulous.
Love it.
So, and so it struggles because I don't overwater it, once a month, but yet it's only, no matter what, when you're a farmer and you change waters, you change your crop.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it.
Right.
I think Jackie's ready for us.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Oh, I was saying I dug the trenches for the wire.
I love it. So what have you got there?
All right, so I'm letting the pasta, the tallarin, between when you roll it out and you cut it, needs to dry a little bit. It can't be, so I've cut it into super, you can see it's just paper thin here.
Wow.
And
You're getting good at that.
7 years. And I'm just letting it dry here. Pretty soon I'll be rolling it up. And then I'll be trying to slice it. So the running joke, if anyone saw our Facebook recently, you'll notice they referred to it as Jacqueline's tallarin. I have a tendency to cut it slightly thicker than normal people, or than my boss does, because obviously 30 years of experience.
Right.
You can
sleep. Right.
So all of our pasta here at the restaurant's all handmade. We make everything by hand. Our agnolotti del plin. So really quickly, let me grab here.
Just a quick note about the agnolotti del plin. So Jeff and Nancy, if you remember, we did a virtual tasting with Lorenzo Carino.
Yes.
And he's also in Piedmont, just north of where Jackie is. So I asked Lorenzo, so what are the traditional dishes that you should have with your wines and stuff and of the area? And he said, oh, for sure, agnolotti del plin, but from Trattoria Risorgimento in Treviso.
Yeah, he called you guys out, Jackie.
That's interesting. So let's see, Jackie, what are you showing us now? This is your
agnolotti. We pride ourselves in how tiny it is. These are all
beautiful
and cut.
You just did that. And Gaia goes there too and eats.
Yeah.
Gaia lives in Barbaresco and he eats at Trattoria Risorgimento.
So you just keep that in a plastic bag and refrigerate it?
With
Enzo called out your trattoria.
we actually blast chill it, freeze it the moment we make it because it's so time consuming to make. We only make it once a week.
Okay.
We make it once a week, blast, chill it, and then it gets put directly frozen into the hot water, and it tastes exactly like it's fresh. Just there's no difference.
Well, you could FedEx it to us, right?
Yeah.
In a what are
Dry
they?
ice.
Dry
And
ice, right?
we also make our own special gnocchi.
Oh, beautiful.
So it's a little bit different than normal gnocchi because there's no potatoes. We make it actually with cheese.
Ricotta. With ricotta.
Stracchino. It's like a kind of similar, a little bit less salty, a little bit sweeter. And so we make our own pasta and then the tagliarine as well. So those are our kind of three main pastas that we make all by hand. Whoops. Okay. So yeah, I'm gonna think.
What about the tasting, Jackie? I'm curious, with these wines that we're tasting and the dishes that you're making, what are your thoughts?
I definitely think the reason why I immediately jumped to these recipes was I was thinking the 2017 definitely lends itself well to the Bagnetto Verde. And it's kind of nice that the dolcetto wine kind of goes with everything. I mean, there's places where you can eat it with it's not just a beef dish. You can eat it with a nice light green sauce like the Bagnetto Verde. And the 2018 will definitely go well with Jeff's short ribs. And
Yes. I love short ribs. Oh my
For
goodness.
sure.
So Jackie, did all of that pasta come out of that one little ball that you showed us earlier?
yes.
It's amazing. That's how thin it really is.
Yes.
So here is what we call the book. And it's all of the rolls rolled together, usually 6 to 8 pieces. You lay them all together with lots of flour in between them. And then we do this. Clean my knife. First, you're going to cut off the end. So the great way about this is you can make a lot of different types of pasta. You can make a pappardelle, or what we also make are lasagnette with the ends, that they're just kind of slightly thicker noodles with. And then you just begin to slice as thinly as you can. And this is what my boss does much faster than me. So I need to let this still dry a little bit more. It's still a little too wet. You can see the pasta close together, so it's not quite. I need to let the pasta dry a little bit, then I'll finish cutting it up.
That's incredible. So when we learned that in a cooking class, we came to you, how to make the pasta, or at least to start to make the pasta. I'm sure it takes years to do it.
Well, no, you guys, when we do it, we cut it. We let our students cut the pasta. They usually will make a tray, un vassoio, so about this much.
Oh, okay.
The class. And Joelle will cut it with you, and he'll help you, and so you get to see his expertise as well. So this was left over from our lunch service, the last tray of many that we served, or our dinner service rather. And yeah, so I still have to let this dry a little bit, but yeah, making pasta is fun. There's a lot of different ways. It's the more or less eggs, flour, salt. It's all kind of.
I have a question for you regarding your homemade pasta. Elisa, your boss, is well known. I was there once when a factory owner who makes pasta came in just to eat Elisa's rather than his own. And he's been trying to get the recipe from her for years, and she won't give it to him, obviously. And so, and Gaia comes in, and everyone, she is well known for her pasta. What makes her pasta different, Jacqueline?
I've signed a non-disclosure agreement. I'm sorry.
Oh, there we go. An NDA is coming up. Okay.
Magic ingredient and technique. That's great. That's
Yeah,
great.
I've signed. They made me sign my life away. No, I'm kidding. No, it's kind of our agnolotti are so famous because of the filling that goes into them. It's more than just the pasta itself. The pasta is normal. In fact, I'm going to be posting in the next couple of days all these recipes on our Vero blog on verogusto.com.
Okay, so we'll send it to everybody who missed today.
Right. So you guys
Please.
the pasta recipe. What you don't get and what you have to come to Italy to try is the filling. And that's what's this ingredient that makes it so good. So, yeah.
When can we go, Suzanne?
Well, I mean, spring of
I'm
next year,
ready.
wouldn't that be wonderful? And a
I'm
year,
ready. I'm in.
wouldn't it be wonderful?
Actually,
I
I'm
want to
thinking,
bring up the obvious sore subject that we all deal with today in this world, but how is it, Jackie, how is it there since Italy's ahead of the curve of the US and all that? We just got in California just today, Governor Newsom closed the bars again.
Well,
oh, did he close them today, Jeff?
Yeah,
be
LA,
responsible.
7 counties, including LA County. So, you know, we're getting spiking because of more tests, but I don't want to make this about COVID. I just want to hear from Jackie kind of
What it's like there, yeah.
It's been scary. And as a restaurant, you know, obviously we're really careful. Things have changed. You know, I'm not wearing one because I'm the only one here.
Right.
Lean down before I leave. But, you know, we all have to wear our
During
masks
service, yeah.
during service, and every time you go in and, you know, you're careful. You see friends and you don't get to hug them. You know, everyone like the elbow bump
I
now.
miss the hugs.
So
The double kiss is gone, all that, everything.
that's gone. And so it's a different atmosphere. Everywhere you go, there's hand sanitizer. People are a lot more careful about, you know, taking temperatures. Here at the restaurant, our procedures have changed. We don't leave bread on the table now. It's served as an as needed basis. When you want bread, we'll bring it to you, basically, because everything we put on the table has to be thrown away at the end of service.
Right, because if you touch it, bring it
Right.
up. Right, exactly.
The menus, is there any tracking going on? Because what I'm seeing here in LA is at some places they have these apps now and people actually will leave their name and information in case of contacts needed, but they can trace everybody who comes in their facility.
Italy is putting out an app, but it's not here in Piemonte, the last I heard. And then as a restaurant, as a locale, we're required by law to take the names and phone numbers of all of our guests, and we keep them
Yeah.
for 15 days. We don't give them to anyone. We keep them, and that's in case an infected person is traced back here. We can then contact the people within the last 14 days to let them know that they were in potential contact with
That's what I wanted everybody to hear on this.
And that's what's so important. And I think, you know, I know someone that recently went to a restaurant for a work dinner, and they were really shocked that people did not wear masks. There was no change in service. And it was really upsetting that there's people that aren't taking this second phase more seriously.
It's a very big deal.
It only takes a few cases to restart the whole thing. And so it's unfortunate that, you know, we follow the law. We are very careful. We throw all of our grissini away. I mean, I can't even tell you how many kilos of grissini we've wasted because it was on the table and we had to throw it away. And so
Send it to a pig farm.
right. We have my boss Elisa, her mother-in-law likes to feed the josse. That I'm not quite sure what they are. I think they're like a mockingbird, but I'm not entirely sure. I just hear that the bread's going to the josse. So I think they're mockingbirds. But anyway, so all right. So I finished cutting the pasta here. I'm gonna open up my water and add some salt.
Are you hungry, Jackie?
I'm getting there. No, I ate too much today. Mary made focaccia.
Maybe a midnight meal.
Yeah.
Mustn't have been midnight meal for her. It is a midnight meal for her. What are you talking about? It's 12:15.
Yeah, I wish we could all share.
You scared the crap out of her.
That's funny.
Probably in the back, working in the back of the house, you probably learned all the bad words in Italian too.
Oh, she did, trust me.
I'm sure she did, Patty.
So I'm just gonna cook the pasta here. When it's fresh like this, you're almost gonna blanch it. Just really, really quick cooking.
Wow.
Non te l'ho visto, ti giuro, non ti ho visto.
You're talking to yourself in Italian now.
No, there's somebody there.
Yeah.
Senti niente, cazzo. Aspetta, no, tolgo questi. E poi così. Comunque, I don't know if you guys can still hear me. I took off my headphones. So this here is Joelle. He's
Oh, hey, Joelle. Hi. Ciao. Ciao. Nice to see you.
Hey, okay, it's my height.
Ciao.
Ciao, Joelle.
Ciao, signore.
Buonasera, buongiorno. No, what time?
We're in 3 different time
Buonasera.
zones now.
Yeah.
You're in California,
East
I'm in New
Coast,
York, two of us
West
are in New York, and you're in Italy.
Yep.
I'm
Yeah.
suffering already of jet lag.
Just the thought of it.
Joelle is an excellent chef. I mean, I have to tell you, he's done some things that I've never seen done before. He came home. He spent 3 years in China. Was it 3 years, Joelle?
It was 2 years for me and 3 for my wife. Yeah.
And 3 for Julia. And go ahead and tell us a little bit about that history. That was incredible.
Yeah, I was just, sorry, I'm blocking Jackie's.
No, I'm just wrapping up. I put the sauce in
It's okay. We're talking to you. It's okay.
I put the sauce in a skillet and then
Okay.
tossing it with the pasta now.
Ooh.
I'm so hungry.
We need the truffles. You know, where's the truffles? I want to do a truffle. I'm going to the truffle fair this year. I missed last year. I will be there this year. But we want to plan a trip. We can do that.
Wouldn't that be wonderful?
Oh, I'm going. I already know. So, yeah, I'm willing to plan it with anyone. So
I want to come back to life. I want to come back to my next life as a truffle pig.
Oh, no kidding. No kidding. I just adore them. And the owner, Joelle's father, Lario, is so kind to me. I mean, they give me truffles out of the woods from the morning and stuff. And
Unscrambled eggs.
wonderful. And my favorite, Joelle taught me how to make my favorite. That's Homa cheese that you asked what it was, Suzanne. And then you cut the center out and you put an egg in it and then bake and just barely hard boil or soft boil the egg and then sprinkle the truffles on it.
Oh my God.
Oh my
my
God.
That just sounds unbelievable.
Oh, it is so good. It's my favorite with truffles, but I'm a truffle hound, like you said. So I decided I'm definitely going back for truffle season this year. So I'll bug all the restaurants.
Well, let's hope that it's all safe and clear. So
That's what I'm hoping.
Staying away is very hard, very hard.
I know, and it's hard to plan this far in advance because we don't know from a day on a day.
I want to smell. I want to smell
you want to
it.
smell.
Television, right?
Let me see.
Oh, we can't do that online, can we?
No.
No, that's a shame.
Well, I will do it for you.
Thank you, Joelle.
Lei ci aveva ragione, dovrei ciappolare la cosa. So, here we have our cheese with the bagnette, and then I've got here real Italian garlic bread. So it's called somadai garlic bread. You take a piece of grilled bread, and here, okay, we have oil with pure garlic cloves. And basically, the trick is
rub it on the bread.
Ah,
So a little bit of that garlic essence and the oil
together.
gets soaked into the bread.
You're getting some ideas for dinner, Jeff.
I'm doing it this weekend, that's
Jesus.
for sure.
So amazing.
Do you make the bread in-house as well?
Yes.
Of course,
I shouldn't answer. I'm
Well,
sorry.
I'm sure.
my mom in charge of the bread. We have this mother yeast
Oh,
for,
really? Forever, the starter.
I can recall it. And yeah, she's feeding the yeast, and we're doing the bread. We do all the bread we use in the restaurant and for all stuff. Questo cos'è?
So she have that mother yeast since before you were born, right?
Well, we start the restaurant business 30 years ago. I was back there, so not since I was born, but close.
Close, close.
Close, yes. And this 2017, Jackie?
Yeah, that was
Okay.
2017 for ours. When you can
Okay.
start there.
So
Joelle,
we sell
I
those
hear
wine
you.
glasses.
Yeah, I
Excuse
have those wine glasses too.
Those are Schatz Wiesel wine glasses, by the way.
Okay.
Those are the glasses. My son's a sommelier. He's in San Francisco. So he
Mm.
straightens me up every once in a while, tells me what to buy.
Un caraffa, allora l'ho svuotato dentro con un rinoceronte. Buona.
It's definitely different from the dolcetto.
That mix last time when Greg was here, so it's not that old, not a month or two old.
So Sheila, how are we doing?
Well, I guess we're near the end. I was wondering, I was really waiting for the dishes.
So beautiful.
Wow.
Oh, can you see?
Ay, ay, ay. Sheila, you recorded this. You don't need to take a picture.
I know, but still.
He wants a picture.
Wait a minute, let me go full screen. Hang on.
He wants a picture of everybody. It's kind of fun, actually. It's kind of fun.
Wow.
Let's get a picture. Jackie, can we get a picture of her? How do we turn it to her so we can see her better?
Yeah, we need the chef.
We need the chef. How do we
We
get
need
the
the
chef? Jeff, you
Yes,
need to
sir.
speak. Say something. It'll come to you.
Oh, Joe.
There we go.
Wow.
Well, here's something you all don't know. I'll give you something. Joelle writes plays here, and Jackie is in a Piemontese play theater group, and he always writes her the play, a lead as the American in his play. And for several years, they've done a big, to-do in Trezo of Joelle's plays, and so he loves to write plays, and they're in a. And my daughter speaks beautiful Piemontese, so that
Beautiful. Well, this has certainly been a wonderful experience all working together. Sheila, it's been great.
Yeah, thank you.
it has been.
Cheers. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
And good night, good evening, good afternoon.
It's fabulous. It's just wonderful. We'll do this again.
I would love that. And thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Suzanne, Sheila. Thank you, Joelle.
Thank you so much.
Really great.
Yes.
And I'd
As
love
they say,
to.
there's another saying in Italy, cent'anni, so.
And everyone who joined us. Thank you to everyone who joined us.
I'd love
It's been great.
to pick your brain, Jeff. I love to get information. I'm an information hound, so someday.
My pleasure.
Okay, thank you, sir.
And
And
Suzanne,
thank you for
we'll have
carrying
to
my
plan
wine.
a trip,
Thank you.
right?
Definitely have to plan a trip. Definitely
Yeah.
have to plan a trip.
Yeah.
And this
It'd be
is-
cool to come up there and visit
Sure.
though, Sheila. I'll come up and we'll make a time. I'll come up there and see Sheila and we'll come see you.
And next time I'm back.
Oh, I would love that.
When are you going back? When are you getting to, Sheila, when are you going to Italy?
July in a week.
Oh, good.
I'm scheduled to fly.
Yay,
Yeah.
Finally.
Finally, right.
finally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good luck. Well, everyone
All
stay.
right, everyone. Thank you all.
Well,
Cut off first.
Okay.
Thank you, Julie
Take
Fox,
Sure.
my
Thank you.
friend, for
Really
coming. Thank you, everyone.
Hi, Suzanne,
And
thank you.
Bon appetit.
Thank you. It's a pleasure, Jack. Wonderful to meet you, Patty. And Jackie, thank you so much.
Jackie, Jolie, ci vediamo.
Ci vediamo.
Bye, grazie mille.
That's it.
Ciao.
Thank you. Ciao, ciao. Ciao, ciao.
Bye.